What's up, everybody? So my name's Vipin. I'm the founder and CEO of the Lumina Group of companies in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I run a high volume service-based business in the home improvement space, new construction space, and the real estate investment space. So this channel isn't about motivation or theory. It's a reference education channel where I'll break down the real operational lessons, mistakes, and frameworks I've learned while scaling a local service company towards 7 figures. I actually started the company when I was 21, 22 years old, roughly. So over the past six and a half years, I'll pretty much be breaking down everything that I learned, how to get to the point that we have gone in and scale beyond that. So it's pretty much about what actually works in the field and not what sounds good on the internet. So let's hop right into it. So the first video that I actually wanted to make was about scaling a service business to 7 figures. And the main reason I want to do that video is because a lot of times what I see is like people are in the service-based space and they usually actually don't have a great service that differentiates them from any of their competition. So they actually struggle quite heavily. And then what you see is people spending a lot of money on like ads, marketing, trying to make sure that they're known or seen. And over time, it actually gets worse and worse the more money they spend because people actually realize that their product is terrible. And by product, I mean their service. So number one, I think the first thing that you need to do is when you start scaling a business to 7 figures is you need to figure out if you actually offer a great service. So, okay, Michael Jordan talks about how he started all of his practices with a simple chest pass, like the most rudimentary things that you could do in basketball. And the main reason like Michael Jordan did that is because he felt that you have to make sure you have the basics nailed down before you start extrapolating it into more intense and more advanced stuff. So pretty much like the first thing that you actually want to think about is like, do you actually have a service that saves somebody time? Do you actually have a service that takes somebody else's stress away? And then do you actually have a service that people can rave about? And I think that the last one's also very important because it helps you build a really strong foundation for your business where you have a referral network, where you're not always worried about ad spend, you're not always worried about getting more and more people through the door, and every single month you're worried about making sure that you can make ends meet again because you have to keep finding new customers over and over and over again. So the very first thing that I would go into is like really simple, and this is what I run into pretty much in every service-based industry. Do you actually like pick up your phone? Do you actually answer emails? A lot of the times, and I think most people who've decided that they want to purchase a product or they want to purchase a service, they kind of want the fulfillment to happen quickly rather than later. And a great example of that is like Amazon. The reason Amazon's blown up is because they can make it so easy with one click for you to have a product at your door within the next 24 hours. So are you the same way? Do they reach out and they don't hear back from you for 3 days and they kind of just get over it? And I see this way more often than not. And so I would say that's like the first bottleneck. In your service-based business, you have to figure out where your bottlenecks are. So do you pick up the phone? Are you actually accessible? Number one. Number two, why logically should somebody hire you? And the truth is that you have to take emotionality out of it and you actually have to be logical. So when you truly understand like why people are hiring you, you have to understand that there's like at the end of the day, it boils down to value. So I'm actually going to use my iPad here and like draw out a little equation. I'm sure if you're in business, you've probably seen this multiple times, but essentially the value equation is this. Let me pull up the iPad here. All right. So we have our equation, and on top we essentially have what your dream outcome or the customer's dream outcome would be. And so like, let's say if you're in a service-based business such as detailing, right? So you're detailing a car and their dream outcome is pretty much having a clean car, right? Or let's say if you're in the roofing and construction business like we are, their dream outcome is having a beautiful roof on their house. They don't have to worry about the roof leaking again, etc., etc. Second, after that, you add in what the likelihood is for them of the outcome. So for example, if they choose you, what's the chance that they're actually going to get that dream outcome that they've really dreamed about? And then under that equation, it's pretty much divided by the likelihood that they get it. So likelihood of it happening plus their effort or sacrifice. So by sacrifice, we're pretty much talking about in the dollar amount. So like how much money do they have to spend? And that pretty much gets you value. So when you're a homeowner, let's say in our industry, they want a brand new roof. So that's their dream outcome. They want the roof to look great on their home. That's like the pretty much the dream outcome. The likelihood of the outcome based on if they choose you, if it's higher or lower. Let's say if you have a lot of Google reviews, you have a lot of local presence, their neighbor used you, their best friend used you, so they know that you do a great job, divided by the likelihood of it happening. So like how quickly can you be there? What's the chances that you can actually fit them into your schedule? And then plus their effort and sacrifice and the amount of dollars, the amount of hours they spend at the work, or their effort to actually reach out to you and book in and pay you. I've actually even had customers tell me that they like the fact that we make it easy for them to pay us. Do you accept credit card? Do you accept cash? Check. Like how do you actually take payment? How hard is it to pay? Do you show up with a machine? Do you want their credit card numbers? Are you going to make it like difficult? Do you only take check? Do you only take certified bank draft? So they have to go stand in a line for 45 minutes at their local bank to get you a check for your name? Or can they just like literally have a click of the button on like a QuickBooks app or Clover or whatever, and they can pay your invoice outright, right? And that matters too, because that actually adds into how much money they're spending, right? So like not all value is actually monetary. And like not all sacrifice is also monetary. So it's not that they're just like putting in physical labor, they're also putting in mental labor and emotional labor. So you have to think about that too. And like how much do you infringe on their lifestyle, right? And it's the same way, like let's use a completely different example in an industry that I'm not involved in. Let's say this is car detailing. Let's say I have a car. My dream is that my car is going to be shiny clean, inside, outside. I'm going to get in, I'm going to be super happy. It smells like lemons, whatever, right? What's the outcome of me getting that with this said business? These guys have 100 Google reviews. They're all 5 stars. My buddy used them last week. They did a great job. I saw my buddy's car when he came to pick me up. Fantastic, right? And that's divided by the likelihood of it happening. So if I were to call this company, I was to text them and they're like, hey, we can be there tomorrow, 12 o'clock at noon. What's the likelihood of that happening based off of what I know in the social proof that I see? And then how much effort and sacrifice do I have to make? Do I have to drive my car to their shop and I have to leave my car there and I have to figure out like the logistics for a ride and all of that stuff? Or are they going to come to me and they're going to do a mobile detail, and let's say I'm at work and it's going to get done at the same time I'm making money or doing something else and I don't have to worry about it, right? For some people, like they want to minimize their effort and sacrifice a lot. Like every rich client I've had who makes a ridiculous amount of money wants to make sure that they protect their time with their life. Like honestly, they'll do anything to, like, if they have to pay me an extra $100 or $200 but it saves them an hour based off of their hourly rate of what they're making, which most people who are extremely wealthy and great clients will actually know. At that point, you want to make sure that you're serving their purpose and you're doing the best job that you can to actually provide them with the service like that. So moving on to number 2. So number 2 is being an authority at the topic at hand. And I'm sure like the service, usually there's a product attached to your service. So an example of that would be like if you're essentially like, let's say you're installing shingles again, or let's say you are detailing a car, like the soaps that you use, the wax that you use, are you like an actual expert at all of the stuff that you're selling as part of the service? Because if you're not, it takes away your authority on the subject. So for example, if I'm installing a shingle, do I know where the shingles were manufactured, who manufactured them, why they manufactured them, what their selling points are, why they were important, what type of innovation did they bring to the industry? And I think a big part about that is also understanding that like wise people say that memorization is a fool's errand. And the main reason they say that is when you truly understand something to the extent that you can teach it. For example, like this stuff that I'm teaching you right now, because I've done it over and over and over and over again, and I've seen it applied so many times, I can talk about this like without a script. I literally have no script in front of me right now, but I can go off for the whole day about what you need to do versus what you don't need to do because I've tried everything. So, right. So when you've learned something and you've applied it and you've tried it and it's true and tried for you, it actually like takes away the fact that you have to memorize something, right? So I think that's very important. Like you got to make sure that you're authority on the topic at hand. If you're selling soaps, if you're selling whatever the hell you're selling as a part of your service-based business where something's attached, if you're in like HVAC, you're selling a furnace, you have to know everything about the brand of furnace that you're selling. You have to make sure that when you go up against other companies who are selling maybe a different product, that you even understand why the competition has a different product than you and why that company would choose with them. And that doesn't mean just demonizing every other brand out there, right? And make sure that you're helping the homeowner make the right decision. And I think a lot of people get that wrong in the sales process as well. Moving on from that, number 3, and this one's probably my favorite one, is just understanding it takes time. So like, I'll tell you a little story about myself. Actually, in my business, there was a 2 to a 2.5 year span where like nothing was happening. It was a lot of inputs, it's a lot of work, and it seems like you're kind of just running in place and like doing a burnout. So I think that's very important. Just understanding it takes time, man. A lot of people overestimate what they can get done in 1 year or 5 years, and they underestimate what they can get done in 10, 15, or 20 years. So for me, it took, to get to like our first multiple 7-figure years, it took about 4-ish years, 3.5. actually, yeah, like 2.5, 3 years. And those 2.5, 3 years, it literally felt like nothing was happening. It just felt like money was coming in, money's going out, and you're just doing a bunch of shit and nothing's like coming to fruition. So I think, and people oftentimes quit. And I think that offers great solace to people as well, because like if you realize that most of your competition's gonna quit when they go through that phase, it kind of makes you stick through it longer, right? Into number four. Now this one's also really, really, really important, and I actually run into this quite a bit. And this one probably makes me the most excited, because it's actually sort of fun. You can turn it into a game. I used to hate this when I was younger. And it's pretty much called running lean. So there's books called The Lean Startup, and just like people call it bootstrapping as well. So it's essentially running your business like an extremely lean machine and trying to keep overhead low, especially in the first few years. And I think people often mess this up because um, there's a point where you finally start making it, and it's like this false sense of making it because you're not paranoid anymore. And what I mean by that is not you're not worried about like your office rent for the next month. You're not worried about how you're going to pay your employees. You're not worried about where the mortgage is coming from and things like that. And people start letting go. And what I mean by letting go is they stop counting pennies and dollars, which I don't think you should ever stop realistically, because I can't remember where I heard it or read it, but the paranoid are the only ones who survive. And that's really true. So I think that you got to understand that you got to run lean. So spending correctly, understanding ad spend, understanding marketing, understanding that maybe you don't need a brand new truck. Maybe you don't need to upgrade new trailers. Maybe everybody on your crew doesn't need brand new clothing. You guys don't need to rebrand everything that you own. You don't need a bigger office space. You don't need brand new billboard signs, a brand new logo and everything else. Because I feel like what happens is um, people forget to understand like the machine that your business is until the rudimentary basics of it aren't figured out and they aren't running lean and consistently and cleanly. um like adding anything on top of it doesn't make sense. So like it's like having a ricer, right? It's like having a Honda Civic with the sickest fucking exhaust with like a blow off valve for a turbo, but your turbo is shit. The car doesn't even fucking move. And it's like a piece of shit car, right? But you strap on everything you can. You have $2,000 rims. You have like a body kit on this car, and it doesn't make any fucking sense. And I think people do that to their business. They'll have like one crew. They'll have like a shitty like service. They'll have like a very basic market, and like what they're doing is instead of just like focusing on making sure that they can expand their market and offer a really good product, they just like start like adding shit onto it that isn't even helping their bottom line, and it's pretty much just diminishing returns on their money. Like at a certain point, if your product and your service is shit, no homeowner is going to be like, oh wow, that guy showed up in a $80,000 truck though, we should so hire him, right? Like that's not how it works. If you have like a 4.0 out of 5 on Google, but you have a brand new GMC, it doesn't matter. Like for what? Right? Like what are you actually going to do with it? So I think you got to run lean until you understand that it's not about who can spend the most, and that's why underdogs exist in an industry. The basketball player Stephen Curry, when he was signing his deal with Nike, well, he didn't sign a deal. Now he did, I think. This is 2026 that's being recorded in. I think he switched over to Nike, and he has like a huge, massive deal like LeBron James and like Michael Jordan, those guys. But originally, when Steph Curry went to Nike, they gave him like a presentation, and it had somebody else's name. I forgot who it was. I think it was like Kevin Durant or something. Like they literally, like you had one of like the best 3-point shooter ever in history sitting at your conference table, and you played a fucking presentation and it had a different player's name in it. And like Stephen Curry took that as disrespect, and he went to Under Armour. What did Under Armour do? They nailed the fucking basics. Is Under Armour as big as Nike? No. Or do they have the authority as Nike? No. Do they even have the authority Adidas does? No. Like most people do not go to Under Armour for their first pick of shoes, right? But they stole the best 3-point shooter for whatever, the past decade or so, because they paid attention to the things that actually matter. And it wasn't like having a huge fucking name. It wasn't like spending excess money on other shit. It was the basics, right? Like making sure that you're running your business lean and actually focusing on like the rudimentary fundamentals, like showing up, being accessible, the things that I've talked about before, actually offering value will get you through the door and have you getting more money and have you getting more clients and like working up to a bigger point over time because you understood that you need to run lean, right? All right, so point number 5 is delegation and repetition. This is one of like my most favorite topics, and it's honestly because I always have to consistently remind myself. Number 1, get used to it to getting boring. So once you hit your first million and you know what works and what gets you there, you kind of have to understand that what's going to get you to 10 million is the exact same thing over and over and over again. No matter how boring it gets, it's the same process. You're going to be getting the same leads. You're going to be going through the same sales process. Maybe there's a little bit of difference in the details and stuff, but other than that, it's the exact same. So you have to understand that repetition is everything, right? And I think it was Bruce Lee who once said that he's not afraid of like the 1,000 kicks you've practiced one time. He's afraid of that one kick that you've practiced 1,000 times. And really it boils down to that. So that's pretty much number 5. And then delegation. Obviously you have to understand capital allocation, but I think that's for another video because this video is getting pretty long as is. And then understanding that there's diminishing returns to your delegation as well, and then delegating to human capital too. So understand that you can't be everywhere all at once for everything and everyone. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Going forward, I do want to pretty much go over all of the lessons that I learned in the very early years of business and documenting it, mainly because I feel like a lot of people out of fear and a lot of people out of just disbelief in themselves don't really document the first few years of being in business. And I literally think the main reason is because A, they're not 100% sure it's going to work because, again, like I said in the video, it does require patience and repetition. And a lot of times people just can't make it through that point. And also, again, only the paranoid survive. So I think at a certain point you realize that the more public you are, it opens you up to more problems. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.